Hello, everybody. Welcome to Word and Worship. My name is Loretta D. Thank you for tuning in. Psalm 147, verse 3 says, He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Some wounds start before we have language for pain, before we know how to ask for help, before we understand what was taken from us. And because those wounds form so early, we learn to live with them instead of heal from them. This word is for that wound, the one you don't talk about because it hurts too much, the one you minimize because others had it worse, the one you learn to spiritualize instead of heal, the one you smile over, serve through, and praise through while still aching inside. There are parts of my story that lived in silence for a long time because they were too heavy to hold in the open. I was raised by a single mother after my father was murdered in front of my family when I was only 3 years old. At that age, you don't understand death, but you do understand loss. Something breaks before you even know what broke. As I grew, more wounds followed. I was molested. I witnessed domestic violence. I grew up in an environment where fear and survival were normal. Those experiences taught me early on to be strong, to be quiet, and to keep going. No one sat me down and said, "Your soul has been wounded." So I learned to perform life while carrying pain. Isaiah chapter 53, verse 4 says, "Surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering." But pain that's never processed doesn't disappear. It settles into your identity. It shapes your decisions. It affects how you trust, how you love, and how you see God. For years, I functioned. I succeeded. I built a business. I showed up strong. But strength without healing will eventually collapse. In 2008, my business was raided by the IRS. In 2012, I was sentenced to 9.5 years in federal prison. From the outside, it looked like a legal issue, but it was a spiritual issue. Proverbs chapter 14, verse 12 says, "There is a way that appears to be right, but in the end, it leads to death." Prison stripped away everything I used to hide behind. There were no titles, no control, no distractions. And at first, I tried to manipulate God like I had done so many other times in my life. I prayed for outcomes, but not transformation. But something shifted when I read a book in prison that revealed God's love for me. That's when I realized something painful and freeing. I had known about God, but I had never let him near any of my wounds. Psalm 34, verse 18 tells us that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. Prison became the place where silence finally broke. Not because the pain suddenly disappeared, but because I stopped running from it. I let God sit with me in the memories I avoided, the grief I buried, and the shame I carried that was never mine to begin with. That's where healing began. Not at my release, but in my surrender. Some of you listening know exactly what I'm talking about. You survived childhood trauma. You endured loss, abuse, betrayal, rejection, or abandonment. You learned how to keep moving while your soul stayed stuck. And you didn't talk about it because no one asked, no one listened, or you didn't have the words. But silence does not mean the wound healed. It only means it went underground. Proverbs chapter 13, verse 12 says, "Hope deferred makes the heart sick." God doesn't heal what we pretend isn't there. He heals what we bring into his presence. People of God, the wound you never talked about does not disqualify you. It does not define you, and it does not mean God failed you. It means you survived something real. In Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, God says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." God is inviting you to do more than survive. God is inviting you to heal. Amen. That was your word. If this word stirs something inside you, it's because God is inviting you to stop suffering in silence. Amen. This word flows from my upcoming book, Healing the Wounded Soul. This book was born out of my own healing journey, from childhood trauma to incarceration to spiritual restoration. And it was written for those who love God but still hurt, for those who survived trauma but never processed it, for those who learned to function through pain instead of healing from it. This book is not surface level encouragement. It's soul work designed to help you understand why certain wounds still hurt even after years of faith, how trauma shapes your thoughts, your behaviors, and your relationships, and how God heals not just what happened to you, but what formed inside of you because of it. And this book is not a book meant to rush your process. It's designed to walk with you toward wholeness. Amen. Before we move into worship, I just want you to pause. Take a deep breath. Let your shoulders relax. And let your guard down just a little. Let the presence of God minister to the place you never talked about. Let this worship song be an invitation to rest, to release, and let God sit with you right where you are. Let's worship.
Some won't start before we have words to say, before we knew how to ask for help or pray, before we understood what was taken away. So we learned to smile, learned to stay strong anyway. I learned to live with the ache inside, learned to survive, learned how to hide, carry the pain, called it faith, but my soul was bleeding in quiet ways. I prayed the prayers I knew how to pray, but there were parts of me I kept tucked away. You see, the wound I never talked about, the hidden hurt, the silent shout, the pain I buried deep inside, the tears I cried but never cried out loud. You heal the broken, you bind the scar, you meet me right where the pieces are. You were close even when I fell apart. You see, the wound I never talked about. I was just a child when my world fell down. Loss came early, no safety found. Fear was normal, survival too. I learned to be strong before I learned the truth. I kept moving forward, never slowed slowed my pace, built a life for a brave face. The pain unhealed don't fade away. It waits for truth, it waits for grace. The thoughts strengthen, holding it all inside. But healing came when I stopped running from the why. You see the wound I never talked about, the hidden hurt, the silent shout, the pain I buried deep inside, the tears I cried but never cried out loud. You heal the broken, you bind the scar, you meet me right where the pieces are. You were close even when I fell apart. You see the wound I never talked about. You carried my pain, you bore my shame, you didn't turn away. You see the wound I never talked about, the hidden hurt, the silent shout, the pain I buried deep inside, the tears I cried but never cried out loud. You heal the broken.